Welcome to Mending Threads, your safe place and your stronghold for whole body wellness. Today, we want to talk about, and everyone's listening to COVID all day, but we want to talk about, look at COVID in a different way. One of the things in terms of healing, so our topic today is going to be healing practice or practices, and looking at educating the community on how to clean up for COVID. So some of the cleanup principles would be to look at decreasing fear and look at how to heal our fear through what we're doing. Now, we've talked about previously as to how meditation, prayer, and connecting with our community tends to bring on decreased stress in many occasions. So let's just look at one thing that we covered before so we can link it with what we're doing today. We have talked about in the past of anxiety. We've talked about stress and how stress is related to fear, and fear actually can induce and related to stress. And it looks at our sympathetic and our parasympathetic system. So I'm not going to be using those words so much, but what it is saying is that when we feel that we're in an alarm, and what happens is our bodies go through so many different changes, and it alerts itself, and all of our bodily organs begin to become inflamed. And it affects our immune system, what we do, what we see. And it can also lead to chronic disease if it persists and if it's sustained through increased stress. And it can move to what we call trauma, that even when the system or the situation is removed, we're still experiencing those symptoms. The parasympathetic, as we talked about, is that part that we've been given in our bodies that actually gives us relaxation, calms us down, and brings us more to healing. Now, Pastor Massey is one of the leaders in the community we're going to hear from that looks at and is one of the prototype churches that, when we look at real life, is bringing on whole body wellness to the community. So when we look at the combination and balance, what we're doing is bringing on a calming and systematic way of looking at everything around us to bring balance and harmony to our system. So whether we talk about the high prevalence of numbers of persons that are dying, which we have 20,000 people in our area that have died at this time due to COVID or due to this, but it's also keep in mind that it's related to the stress and the trauma, the existing stress, the historical stress that's brought on, and also the way that we perceive situations. So I have with me today Pastor Anita um, Daniels. And Pastor Daniels is with Designer Foundation. She's one of she's the CEO of the Designer Foundation. And I have with us also Pastor Samuel Massey with Real Life Christian Church. And you know, he's our leader for looking at spiritual development within the community as it relates to whole body wellness. So I want to welcome both of you this morning and to the show. And I'm just anxious to find out about this Designer Foundation. So, Pastor Anita, could you just tell me a little bit about what you do and how you kind of got into this area?
Well, good morning, Dr. Lewis. Yes, my name is Anita Daniels, and the name of the foundation is Anita D Designer Foundation. And the Anita D Designer Foundation was birthed post Hurricane Harvey, and in the wake of much trauma to our city, our community, people, all faces, all walks of life. And so clean up COVID-19 or was another, I want to say, and I want to use one of the words that you used this morning so eloquently, was another fear component that was sent into our community. So the Anita D Designer Foundation was born as a disaster to provide disaster relief, disaster and now pandemic relief, and also to provide community development for both multifamily and single family housing.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, my that is so wonderful. So the thing about it is that are you within the practices that you have? How do you evaluate what needs to be done? How do you determine other than the catastrophe itself?
Well, what happened was that in March, when we went into shutdown mode, I gathered my leaders and we came to the table and strategized about what needed to what needed to be done according to what the doctors and the scientists were the information that they were giving us and through the CDC. And the thing was, COVID-19 is we found was a virus much similar but more deadlier than the flu. And so, what the scientists and the doctors were telling us is that our environments needed to be sanitized. And not only that, we needed to lock down. We needed to lock in, lock down, stay in, away from people, and so on and so forth. So we took all of that information, and we came out with a program that's called Clean Up COVID-19. That Clean Up COVID-19 is to give the tools, not necessarily the vaccine, but give the tools to our underserved and under-resourced communities, those who are more vulnerable to this particular disease or pandemic. And what was that? That was the supplies, cleaning supplies, sanitizing wipes, sanitizing sprays. I don't want to call any name brands, but sanitizing sprays and things to or supplies to wash their clothes with, keep their clothes clean. And then also on the personal essential side, we made sure that they received hand sanitizer, PPEs, deodorants, shampoos, all kinds of soaps. All of this played a very, very, very important role in keeping the body sanitized and cleansed of germs of that particular virus. And we gathered together professional corporations who came in and heard the vision that we had at the time, and they said, this is in line with what the CDC is, the information that CDC is giving, as well as our doctors and our scientists. And so we went to work to identify that the population, our most vulnerable population. Of course, we know that the attack has been upon our Black and Brown communities. So we went there all the way. I heard God specifically tell me in my prayer and meditation time, that we needed to, we needed to tackle the masses, the massive amounts of people that fell into those in those vulnerable communities. And how were we going to find them? Well, we found them through organizations who were already serving them in one capacity or another. We understood that this was an emergency situation, so we did not have time to try and go to the news media hoping that they would catch our message. So we went directly to those organizations that could help immediately at the
Mhm.
database for us. And as we began to go to certain organizations, like i.e. Texas Children's Hospital, which we know Texas Children's Hospital serves those communities all over the world. And so we
Mhm.
database, we needed to tap into who they were serving. And when they heard what our plan was,
Mhm.
minus a vaccine, they bought into it and they partnered with us. And we adopted 12 of their 50 clinics, and we're still counting. And so we hit the ground running with Lakewood Church. Lakewood Church, of course, houses serves thousands and thousands of people, and we had to mobilize. We needed a place to mobilize because we were getting in 18 wheelers. So 18 wheelers full of product. And so we needed a place safely to store our product and to keep it
Mhm.
sanitized and to have the hands and the feet to be able to distribute it into the
For
community.
the people
So
that
I
need it.
went to the pastors of Lakewood, and they agreed. And so we started bringing in the trucks in from Ohio, and we staggered them, giving us enough time to be able to process the products that were coming in and to get them bagged up into our hope, what we called hope bags. And so we were giving out these bags. We were setting up super site distributions, and not only with Texas Children's, not only through Lakewood, but we formed a partnership with Catholic Charities, because I knew Catholic Charities, they reach a
Big
massive amount of
population.
people.
Yes.
So we went to Texas Catholic Charities, both Houston and Galveston, and now Corpus Christi. And we got the products into these communities through them. And then I kept hearing the voice. That wasn't enough. And I actually began to get a form of anxiety myself, because every time I'd come back to my books and I would start strategizing, I would look at the numbers of our population here in Houston, and then I would
Yeah.
look at the numbers of people who we had served, and it wasn't enough. And
Just
so I was calling my supplier, and I was like, hey, look, we need more. Can you get us more? And God just supernaturally opened up a larger grant for us. So
yeah.
what started
Yes.
out as getting in a truckload, a
Mm-hmm.
box truck of cleaning supplies, turned into 10, we're at like 14 or 15, 18 wheelers
Yes.
full cleaning
Yes.
supplies into
That's a
this.
blessing. That's a blessing.
We have
I had a
today.
question though.
Sure.
How do you help, how do you determine the persons that really need it?
I'm
How
gonna
do
tell
what
you,
process do you have? Mm.
well, the process that I took, I stayed in tune with what the doctors were saying and with the
Uh-huh.
CDC and the scientists. So therefore,
Uh-huh.
COVID had no face. It had no face.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
So what I mean by that is that I knew that the number statistically was telling me that the Black community had the highest rate
Mm-hmm.
of this disease, or this pandemic. So we knew that we had to tackle that community first. We had to
Yes.
tackle
That's
that
what I meant.
community.
Yeah, that's what so you chose
Yeah,
the areas that were densely populated with persons that had high needs. Okay, and
exactly.
behaviors. Uh-huh. So
Yes.
so one of the things, have you begun to look at the impact on the person's health or habits at all?
Well, I tell you what, I have we have not physically gone back to look at them because we're still in distribution mode. But I
Okay.
can tell you, Dr. Lewis, that we have, on an ongoing basis, I am getting emails thanking us for what we are doing. I've
Wow.
had emails, testimonials from moms said, telling me, if
Yes.
you
Yes.
had not been for what you did, I would have had to make the decision on
To
buying food for my
That's
infant
good.
baby, or and
That's
Pampers, or what do I do? Do I buy Pampers or do I
yeah.
buy food? And we know
Yeah.
we need the babies to stay clean because they're little
Yeah.
carriers as well. And so and from the elders in the community, email after email after email. But I'm going to tell you one thing that I have not received. I have not received an email or a letter or a call telling me that I got COVID, that they got COVID-19.
That's right.
So
That's right.
yeah,
Hmm.
so all glory goes to God, because we are
Yes.
doing what we're supposed to do. We're giving them not only the products, but we're giving them information. We're giving
Information.
them
That's right.
information on how to take the product, use the product. You know what the doctors are saying. You know what the CDC is saying. Go home, sanitize your homes, wear your mask, wash your hand. Teach the kids how to wash their hands all throughout the day. And if they're not washing their hands, use hand sanitizer.
Yes.
So
So you
we're
are
getting
you are. So in other words, part of the process is you either putting what instruction in the bag, or are you teaching them what to do? Are you
we are
showing them?
we're putting we have the information in the bags, and then on my
Mhm.
social we have social media outlets, and through
Good.
Texas Children's HISD is our
Right.
largest partner to date. So through those through those meetings, we are actually getting the information to them that they need. We're getting them
Right.
the products that they
That's
need,
so
and on
good.
top of it, we're
Yes.
getting them the nutritional foods that they need, because we're alongside
Yes.
distribution, we're just distributing healthy foods to them as well. So
Yes.
we
Yes.
are trying
Yes.
to
Yes.
alleviate that fear component,
Yes. Yes.
anxiety component, and letting
Mhm.
them that there is hope, and there is
Right.
someone out there who cares about your situation.
Yes. Oh, that is such a blessing, and it's just so good to hear that. And to follow up on that, so I'm just knowing that Reverend Mass is going to work on making a connection, and we implement it for all of the churches. We're doing the mental health and cultural competence, which this ties into that, because we're looking at the number of Hispanic and African Americans and other persons who are sojourning here to our country. Um, their habits of not following mask wearing and social distancing and using the products. So that's why I was asking you that. And so I know that there is a link to the churches that we're making for this, that what you're doing, and also what Reverend Mass is doing in terms of getting the word out and looking at healing from a different way, in a different from a different intervention, by using the word and the practice in a different method. So I was going to ask Reverend Massey to see how he plans to follow up with this within his church, and to use this with the other churches that we're linked to as a model, because he's one of the model churches for whole body wellness. Mhm.
Well, basically, first of all, good morning, everyone.
Good morning, good morning.
Good
And
morning.
Reverend Massey, we're so accustomed to him being here early in the morning. But I do want to, for those of you who are first time visitors, Pastor Samuel Massey was one of the founding pastors for the Imani Faith Health Initiative here in Houston, Texas, and for the whole body wellness practice. He's with a real life Christian church. And I'm just so proud of the work that he's doing. So he takes the leadership at least once a month in building this thread. So yes, welcome this morning, Pastor Massey. So I wanted to know
Yeah,
how you plan to. Yes,
yeah. Well, I first of all, I just thank God for. I guess you can hear the word teamwork, make your
yes,
dream work,
yes, yes.
and we as believers in Jesus Christ have to hook up with people that think the same way we think
I think that's right.
and do the same things that we do.
Mhm.
Because the scripture says, be not unequally yoked together with unbelievers. And see,
Yes.
and when you're yoking up with people or combining or uniting with people, you have to try to find people that have the same mindset that you
Hmm.
have. And since we are reaching out into the community, because the church can't just sit in the building and uh, expect for the community to come to them. And we have to, it's like Jesus says, seek and save those that are lost. And
Yes.
see, in terms of the pandemic, there's a lot of people out there that don't know what to do. It's like you're saying they're fearing, and the words say God has not given us the spirit of fear, but he's given us power. He's given us love. He's given us a sound mind, clear thinking. See, a sound mind is clear thinking, knowing what to do and putting the word of God into action. The first thing you learn the word of God, then you learn how to use the word of God, the principles of the word, to go out into the community and seek and save those that are lost. It's like, and in this pandemic, like Pastor Daniel was saying, the people were fighting, people are dying in their families and households and things like that. And a lot of them have underlying conditions, and those are the things that we have to be mindful of. And in working with WRC, we've been trained to teach people how to help manage their underlying conditions. And so those are the kind of things that we also do in terms of working. You work with a pandemic and they say black people are dying, brown people are dying, and a lot of it because of the underlying conditions that they have. And so we've started training people at the church and at other locations as to how to help manage their underlying conditions so that they would be able to take care of their bodies in the best possible way. And seeing along with what Pastor Daniel was saying, giving them the materials to clean up, for COVID. And then we are training them as to how to manage those underlying conditions along with that in order to complete that transformation as it relates to whole body wellness. Because we have to look at it body, soul, and spirit. And the spiritual aspect is that we're praying for them. At the same time, we're teaching them that prayer is not, you can't do everything by just praying and then expecting God to do what you can do for yourself. And so we are definitely using tools like helping them manage their high blood pressure, like taking blood pressure, uh, measuring their blood pressure at the church, measuring their weight at the church, on a regular basis to try to help them lose weight, try to help them learn to exercise and do the things that they need to do naturally. So when you start praying for them, that God will do the things supernaturally that they can't do physically. And
One of the
so,
things that I know that you're doing is you're partnering also with the Women's Resource Center Imani Faith Health Initiative to connect and help people who need services. And so I know that we're beginning to get calls for those services. But if you could see how this actually extends with Pastor Daniel's foundation, in that the persons that she served, where we're needing to create a list of those people that she's able to make contact with, and those persons would be able to get help through the trainees for the mental health coaching, so they would be able to, your arm reaches farther. So this is what we call locking arms for whole body wellness, where we're not only partnering, but we're actually making that connection for the people in the community, for healing. I'm hoping I'm giving the visual. Okay, so I'm trying to get the visualization there. So actually, you're moving further and further. This is great. So, but if we're needing to have the audience know that they can come to your church or call your church and get more information. So I do want you to repeat where your church is located and how they may get directly in contact with you.
yes, well, we're located on Alameda Genoa Road, 3635 Alameda Genoa Road, Houston, Texas, 77047. And our phone number is 713-494-7186. That's 713-494-7186. And you can always leave a message. We'll get back with you if we don't talk with you directly. And so, and like Dr. Lewis was saying, the one of the things that she mentioned is the coaching aspect, the training that we getting ready to get involved in was coaching. What's that word we use, Dr. Lewis?
Cultural competence and mental health. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and going alongside of the people, one on one with individuals that might have been involved with some type of trauma, and coaching them through it. Because people are dying, people are getting sick, things are happening in families, and people don't know what to do. And so we're not counselors, but we will be coaches. We would just call them up, talk with them, talk them through it, um, share our experiences with them, and because we'll be certified coaches, and that might be something that you might want to consider, Pastor Daniels, is getting involved into the coaching aspect, and it's something that we're offering that normally would cost about $3,000, but we're offering it for $150. And if you want to learn more about that, we will be meeting this evening at 7, from 7 to 8, and we'll be talking about that. And so if you're interested in hearing more about that and getting the complete synopsis on everything that we can do with that, you can join us this evening at
And
7.
you can send her the link,
Yeah.
and that way if you could forward her the link, and that would be a wonderful thing. That would help us to lock arms, um, in the community, and think of everything like water flowing. If we could just begin to think that we've been blessed with the ability for the water to have momentum. And so instead of routing it around in a circle in one spot, what we're really trying to do is to have it flow and move to the area that needs it the most. Like a downward flow, and there's a way that it can go upward as well. That's how we got all these nice little waterfalls. Okay, then. So all we need is the locking arms and the force and the prayer and the meditation behind it, and we're gonna have it going on. So one of the things that we might want to look at is how to take in this effort, how to take what we know about cleanup, um, COVID-19, is to how can we get more people involved? How can we get persons who have, quote unquote, if we could think about it, using what we already know with oppositional behavior, to engaging in the practice. So maybe we could think of what we already know to do as to how would we engage those persons. For example, I was driving in the area, and I noticed around many of the clubs and on many of the streets like Alameda and other areas that I saw, there were 70% of the people did not have on masks, and they were out in the evening socializing. And this is what's going on now. So my question is, we're having an increase in death, spiking right now. What could we do, and how could we get information to those persons using what you're already doing and what you already know? And this is for both of you.
Okay.
Of course,
Yeah.
it's not on you. We just gonna think it together, because I do believe that we're given information and ideas sometimes that we don't know, but we need to begin looking at what can we do about a population of youth, adolescent, and adults that are not practicing. What can we do to get the word out? Like they did with smoking or they did with whatever. What can we do? because we're key people in the community that must make this happen.
Well, what I would say, and I've noticed the same thing that's happening to our in our millennial aged community. They are taking off the mask instead of putting on the mask, keeping on the mask. They're taking off the mask, and they because they are hearing mixed signals. And there's a scripture, and it says the spirit of the prophet is subject to the prophet. So whatever we have a country that is in a very, very precarious situation with leadership. We have leadership that's fighting against one another. So we have some leaders that are saying that are in agreement with what the doctors and the CDC and the scientists are saying. Then we have the other side that's halfway there, and they're giving half of the correct information. And when they see a leader contract COVID-19, whether that was real or not, when they see a leader contract it and then he bounces back in about 24 to 48 hours and still doesn't wear a mask, they don't know what's going on behind the scenes. So they're following what they see. And so, yes, we do need to get into the community. We do with the millennials and speak with them. But when we start talking about tackling that particular community, we're talking about going against an entity that's called alcohol. And when you're
Uh-huh.
going against an entity that's called alcohol mixed with a sound judgment, the two don't mix. It's like oil and water. So where I see them, I live in the downtown area. So when you see them walking to the bars in the evening, you see them walking first with a mask. You see them walking with a mask. But when you see them coming back in about an hour or two, you see them without the mask. So the
Yes, yes,
alcohol is relaxing their bodies, and it's impairing their judgment.
yes.
So the it had I'm I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but sometimes an experience is what it takes. I'm kind of like from the old school, and I can stand out here and hand out masks and hand out masks on the
Mm-hmm,
sidewalk.
mm-hmm,
They'll take the information that I
mm-hmm.
give them and keep walking. Because remember, alcohol and sound judgment is just not pairing. That's why the bars and the clubs are the last entities or businesses to open, and they're having a struggle. Our government is having a struggle with whether to leave a bar closed or to give them information and save lives. So it's not mixing. So Pastor
Yeah.
Massey, you may have some information on that. I don't mind talking to the millennials because I do have a lot of millennials around me that I'm speaking to and speaking into, but they have to understand. I'm like Beyonce's mother, Tina Knowles. I heard her PSA when she first started, when she got involved at the very beginning of COVID-19. She said, the hair salons, the nails, the bars, the clubs, it can wait. It can,
Mm-hmm,
you know what I'm
mm-hmm,
saying? That's my
mm-hmm.
message. It can wait. I love having my nails done. I love going and having a facial every now and again. But I'm doing my own facials. I was doing my own nails, but that got in the way. And it's now focused in on what's going on. We're getting ready for a second wave of this.
Yes, that's right. Mm-hmm.
And this is serious. This is serious. We have helped. The numbers now are staggering how many people we've helped. We've helped over 100,000 people. We're getting ready for another distribution where we're closing it out. I'm closing it out in December, the week before Christmas, and we are targeting 70,000 people that we will touch with our Clean Up COVID-19 mission. We're closing it out after that.
Well,
And
I'm gonna make contact with you so that we could do the mental health, so we can get something attached to that for mental health and for the judgment thing. Sometimes when you create a realistic situation or scenario, people can begin to see things a little different. And sometimes it's just a drop of a piece of information can make a person think a second time.
Yeah.
And sometimes you have to see it over and over.
Yeah.
And the more you see it, the more, just looking at human behavior, even animals, you
Yes.
see. So I think that we probably need to pray about what we can do and get a sense of direction to use existing resources, connect together, and make it happen. You see.
Sure. Sure. I
So,
believe I'm with you.
um,
And
right, right.
you know, one of the things I was thinking about while we were talking is that, it's just like getting saved. You have to first believe. Uh, in order to receive, you have to believe.
Yeah,
And it's a lot of people out there that listening to different voices, because
Yeah.
there's a lot of voices out there that's talking. Because we've had services at the church, and I tell everybody to wear a mask. And somebody, I pick up somebody to take them to church, and I say, put on your mask. And then he said, oh, this stuff is fake. It's a lot of people that
hmm,
don't believe that the COVID virus is real.
it's
They
real.
think
Right.
they think it was made up, and that all these people dying is just fake. It's
Yeah.
not really real. And they say that the people that are dying, they just putting their name on it, COVID, but they're not really related to COVID. And so, and then when you have a president that's standing before the whole country and saying things like, "Oh, we're gonna get over this. We right around the corner, and we don't really need to wear these masks." And then even when people in his own cabinet are getting sick,
Yes.
there's
Yes.
he's still not putting emphasis on the importance of people wearing masks, because he's
Right.
standing before crowds of people and snatch his mask off, and
Right.
then and say Biden is weak, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
And so these are the kind of things that divide the people in terms of their mindset.
Yes.
And the worst thing that's happening is like genocide for the black and brown people. And a
Yes.
Yes.
lot of them don't get it. They don't get it, still don't get it, because I still talk to people and they say, oh, I don't need to wear this mask, and they'll have on a mask and it's just on their mouth,
And pull it down on. Yeah. Yes.
yeah,
Yes.
it's not covering their nose. And but when they come into the sanctuary, they'll see me wearing my mask. And when they come in, if I see a person with mask just on their mouth, I say, you need to put the mask on your nose, because it's not doing you any good if you just got it wrapped around your mouth. Raise it up and put it on your nose. And I say it from the pulpit. They're
Yeah.
sitting up there with masks just hanging on their mouth. I say, you need to put your mask on your nose. And
Hmm.
and see,
Yeah.
and a lot of times they don't really come to people until it hit home, until
Yes.
somebody in their family gets
Yes.
sick,
Yes.
or
Yes.
Feel
until
the
somebody
pain
dies.
themselves.
Somebody
Hmm.
died, and then it takes dying. Sometimes, like I say, sometimes it takes dying of a close family member to get your attention. But in some cases, they'll do it for a while, and then they'll go right back to the
Yeah.
same bad habits that they've practiced before something tragic has happened in their families. And so and when I see where the words say, wherefore come out from among them and be ye separate,
Mm.
saith the Lord, and touch not the unclean thing, and I
Mm.
will receive you. It has to do with your mental, your
That's right.
thinking.
Hmm.
The Bible says, as a man thinketh,
So
so
is
is
he.
a man. So
Hmm.
whatever's in
Hmm.
your heart is going to come
Hmm.
out. And so until you can cause people to believe differently, because that's the key. You have to cause people to believe differently, because if I'm unequally yoked together with unbelievers, see, I can't hook up. Nobody can be on my team that doesn't believe. You have to
That's right.
believe like me. You have to unite with
Yes.
thoughts. It's
Yes.
all about thinking. You have to unite with people that think like you think and believe like you believe and walk like you walk, in order to get them. You have to develop a team that's all saying the same thing,
Same thing.
all
Similar.
doing the
Mhm.
same thing,
Way.
all walking the same way. And the
Mhm.
Bible said the just shall live by faith. So I have to start speaking those things that be not as though they are. I have to start calling things from eternity into time. I have to start making some things happen by
Yes.
faith,
Yes.
because you're not going to get it any other way.
No.
So
Yes.
I'm,
Yes.
I just believe that we have to unite with people like, designer Anita D Designer Foundation, that think like we think.
Right.
So you have to
Mhm.
group together a
Mhm.
team of people, and
That's
then
right.
those
Mhm.
unbelievers that see people on your team that they
Mhm.
respect. See, because people have to respect somebody around you before
Right.
they start listening to you.
Right.
So
Yeah.
if you can join together with a group of people that
Mhm.
have these thinkers. These thinkers. It's just like coming up with a vaccine for the virus. They group together a team of people that believe like they
Yes.
believe, so they could come up with this vaccine.
Well, Pastor Master, that's going to be a whole nother show to talk about the vaccine,
Yeah,
because we need to talk about the vaccine in the community, in the African Americans and Hispanic, and
yeah,
and how that is, and we need to study the information, and we need to find people in the community who really are well informed
Yes.
right.
about that before, because the history indicates that we need to be a little bit more alert. I understand that Texas is the place they're getting ready to text, because that they're getting ready to use as a test case because of the diversity. So now there are
Hmm.
questions around that. You understand? And so somehow you got once we need to bring people from the community who are well informed so we could begin to discuss that. I've only heard one discussion, and it created more cons than it did pros. So they had a town hall on it. So we are going to have another town hall on that coming up. So we need to look at that and look at what the dynamics, the trials are. That's what I'm
Yeah,
trying to say.
you don't want to find yourself as being a set of guinea pigs.
There you
You know,
go. There you go.
because we know that it's affecting black and brown people, and we know that it's affecting
Hmm.
uh, the elderly. And so what they wanted, that's why they said, just notice, that's why they said we're going to give it to the elderly first,
Yes.
the old people. So if they die, they're already,
You got to, you just telling the
you know,
truth. And so one of the things is that wait till we get our cultural competence person talking about it, and we're going to bring some physicians on. But back to our topic, that's going to be a whole nother discussion, that we're going to look at that, particularly around pastors, because pastors will be in the forefront of leaders of so many people, their flocks. And this is going to really need, pastors and physicians are going to need, we're going to be pulling that off with a seminar coming up real soon. This is something that we must take seriously. And so I think that Pastor Daniels, that if we looked, our earlier question was looking at what we could do. There is, we had proposed in our last, one of our earlier discussions, that we would begin to do a teen summit, a young adult summit. And we would collect teens that were balanced judgment. And we would begin to have them through music, through drama, through open mic and whatever, speaking about the mass, speaking about their wellness,
Yes.
speaking of wholesome. So that's one of the interventions that we're trying to do before Christmas.
Okay.
That would, so anyone out there in the audience, if you really know of young people who can help with this leadership and who would be able to make an intervention with the Designer Foundation, with us, putting together information about how to use it and protect themselves and develop an understanding of whole body wellness, please contact us at 281-381-2276. And also, you can go to our website, wrc-houston.com, and leave us a comment. And we just call us, and we'll get us on board with you. Okay, then, and we look forward to that. So, are there any last comments that would pull together what we want to leave people with this morning, the thoughts?
Um, one of the things that I wanted to ask Pastor Anita, and it has to do with the healing practice.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, do you all like have a written format as to how you communicate with the families, the individuals, in terms of the do's and the don'ts and how they do it? Do you all have like a packet of information that you give the families to use as a guide, and then the reasoning behind it? You all have something like that?
Yes, remember the people that our targeted community has been those who are already being served by a particular professional organization. So we have the health profession, which is Texas Children's Hospital. So they have blessed us with so much information and information that we're giving to the patients and to their clients and to clients that are HISD families. So we are talking about, yes, to answer your question, yes, we have information. We have an abundance of information, and I'm finding that they're taking the information, they're reading it, and they're adhering to it. And I personally have written a letter from my heart, the founder's heart, and that goes into their bag as well. And we do get a good response from that.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you.
You're
Okay,
welcome.
this is such great information for the community and for the churches. So, how might the churches that we work with have access to that information for their people in their community?
Are you speaking about the cleanup COVID-19?
Yes, for the cleanup COVID-19, we have several partner churches that are trying to help or that are helping provide whole body wellness in the community. So, how
Sure.
might they get connected so that they could provide this they could work with you to provide this to congregations and persons in the Third Ward, Sunnyside, Houston, and other communities?
Okay, awesome. Well, they can actually reach us by the website, which is www.anitadaniels, ANITA Daniels with an S,
Mhm.
foundation.org. And if the churches would sign up there and contact us there, we can get the information, we can get them involved. We have a stake in the Sunnyside community as well as the Third Ward community. Our first distribution went into the through Shape Community Center, where they are touching the lives of a lot of elderly people. And so
Yes.
we actually hit them first, and we've hit them several times with supplies and with food. So they are our partners in the Third Ward community. And in the Sunnyside community, Greater Grace Church, Bishop E.L. Usher, we dropped 65 pallets at that church for them to distribute a couple of months ago. And they also are a good stake in the community for the cleanup COVID-19, and they will be a part of this big distribution that's coming up in December. But I encourage the churches to go to my website, sign up, so that we can get the information to you and get you involved, so that your churches can receive can receive some of the, the products and information and partner with us, and even going further, because I say that we are closing it out in December, but we may have to take it, through next year. We don't
Mhm.
know. So if
Um,
everybody comes together, in support, yes, we will do it again.
I think too, and then plus you'll have additional people. I think to be there to help you. The persons that we're about to train, I think that they will be quite helpful.
Awesome.
So, and I'll give you a call to see how we can make this connect work, and
Okay.
to kind of close the circle and lock arms. We have about two or three more spots, areas that we need to cover, and then the persons that are in leadership will be able to make a move. We're also looking for additional grant writers. There are 4 grants that would be helpful to this project as well. Okay, then. So I will look forward to following up with you. And Pastor Massey, I want to thank you so much for being on the show this morning. And Pastor Anita, it has been wonderful to talk with you and to see you in your new form, and so to speak. And so it's always good to see familiar faces and be around people with good hearts and moving in a good, healthy direction. Thank you so much. So I want to tell the audience, thank you for being with us today. And I want you to remember that we want to renew our beliefs. We want to rebuild faith. We want to reconnect families and communities for whole body wellness. And remember, it is not the circumstances that we meet, it is the manner in which we respond that determines health, happiness, and success. We'll be with you next week, God willing. And the thing that I want to remind you is to please sign up to help your community. The mental health coaching program, please call our office at 281-381-2276. Leave a message and a time that's good to call you back. This is our opportunity. We've received thousands of scholarships that have been paid, all except the fees and the taxes or whatever, which is $150. Churches can train their congregations. We have a separate training group for beauticians and barbers who are directly there with people that could bring about a change. So we're looking for our leaders and our pastors specifically, and to really take this class, and we're going to make a difference and show what they say they're going to make a difference. So I'll see you all on next week, and be blessed. Thank you now.
Thank you.